Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton sits on the Senate Intel Committee, and he joins me now for a reaction. Senator, I've been focusing on this Taiwan trip for quite a while now. We're going to get to the Manchin betrayal of the voters of West Virginia in a moment, but your first quick reaction to this Taiwan saga.
Well, the word I've heard in Congress is that the leak of Nancy Pelosi's trip came straight from the White House. The pressure came from Joe Biden, who doesn't want her to take this trip because he's once again kowtowing to Beijing. But Lloyd Austin and Joe Biden shouldn't be worried about China's aggressiveness. They should be making China worry about our aggressiveness. For decades, American lawmakers have been traveling to Taiwan of both parties, and that should continue now, especially after it became public. I actually saw Speaker Pelosi last night, and I told her it was absolutely essential that she go forward with this trip, no matter what Joe Biden says.
Would you go with her if it could be a Senate Republican member traveling to Taiwan with her? Would you go?
Now, Laura, that would be a major, major sacrifice for our nation. But yes, if she invited me to go to Taiwan to show the bipartisan support that Taiwan has in Congress, I would, of course, travel to Taiwan together.
It would be fantastic. I would love for you to go. Now, your colleague, Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, has made a deal with Senator Schumer for a new proposal that they call an Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. Now, the details are a little, scant as usual, but they're going to allocate $369 billion for what they call energy security and climate change. It actually ends up going up to, I think, $433 billion in total. Then another $64 billion to extend the ACA, $124 billion toward IRS tax enforcement. There's, of course, a minimum 15% tax on companies worth over $1 billion. Your response to this and the spendorama that surrounds it?
It's unbelievable, Laura. Joe Manchin's 700-page trillion-dollar tax and spend bill is probably the longest suicide note in the history of West Virginia. At a time when West Virginians and Americans are paying $4 and $5 a gallon for gas, what do the Democrats now propose to do? To spend hundreds of billions of dollars more to sick the IRS on hardworking American families. It's only going to drive up inflation more and cost people their jobs. I would also point out, Laura, this is a huge, huge amount of spending when you add it on to the $250 billion spending that the Senate passed today, that the House is voting on tomorrow. And I would urge every House Republican after this double cross not to support that $250 billion spending bill on semiconductors and other things, most of which is just going to end up benefiting China anyway because it doesn't have adequate security or counterintelligence guardrails. House Republicans, I would encourage you not to help the Democrats spend $250 billion tomorrow when they just unveiled another trillion-dollar tax and spend bill that they want to move to next week.
This is an Inflation Explosion Act, not Reduction Act. This scoring it over 10 years and how much money you'll bring in by, prescription drug savings. It is a complete boondoggle. Now, Senator McConnell said that he would not allow for a vote on the CHIPS Act that you're referencing if Manchin supported this climate change bill, which it is, the climate change bill. So how did it get bollocksed up? Was that a misfire by McConnell? What happened there?
Well, it was obviously a double cross by Joe Manchin. Just 2 weeks ago, he'd said he wasn't going to support a bill like this. But, Laura, he's been saying for months that he wouldn't support so many of the provisions in this bill. He's called them gimmicks or smoke and mirrors budgeting. But now he's going to apparently support all of them. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to pass. They haven't heard from Kirsten Sinema, for instance, or from all of the members of the House. But I just think it's insane that we're spending $250 billion on these semiconductor subsidies when we're not protecting that innovation from China. And then they want to turn around and spend another $600 or $700 billion on all of this other boondoggle programs. And I would encourage House Republicans not to help the Democrats tomorrow spend $250 billion so they can turn around and pass their $1 trillion tax and spend bill next week.
Yeah, I think Mark Kelly better be worried in Arizona. He supports this, so-called moderate Mark Kelly. He shouldn't be voting for this either. Senator, thank you for this update. We appreciate it.